And we are finally back after a far too long hiatus. So, yeah, there are definitely limits to that thing in there. Yeah, and we got one of those extinction thingies in my base. Who knew? Seems to imply that there's some sort of godlike thing in the game. Perhaps a false prophet, but either way. They've added some new colors in. They've done really good, I thought, for the most part, although they really need to tone down the purple shit. Not a fan of that one at all. I think this is the end. I'm not sure. And don't ask me why. Yeah, that's a mess right now. And if I reset, he'll work fine. This is what we'll do instead of, I don't know yet. Don't ask me why one guy works and the other one doesn't. Damn, that Rex looks good. Allegedly, there's tech raptors now too, which is something nobody wanted. Ironically, to me, it's the natural colors that really stick out the best because they really, really, really look good. The more actual reptile they get. What? What? I don't think I've ever seen my base do that before. So weird. Very weird. Those guys are good too. Good. what you're saying. I could just whistle for them, but I'm not doing that, am I? There's some really big ass salmon. Good luck and Godspeed, boys. Girls. What? Is that an alpha? That's a regular? I don't want to go in there and find out. Don't ask me how I always seem to end up with a pink one, but I always seem to end up with a pink one of these guys. This Therizinosaur is really confusing the hell out of paleontologists. I can't figure out why a herbivore would have claws like that, and I'll admit, that's a bit strange. Lord in heaven. Things right behind us. Oh, that's what you call a problem there. Squids. I really don't even feel that safe across on my own base. I don't know if that fooker can get across it or not. I don't know if the roar is on purpose or not, but it's about to be. Hey, shitholio. Not my house. Vaya con Dios, you little assholes. Didn't affect him much, did it? Or her, whatever. Appears that everything's copacetic. Mine's, again, that just random thing in my backyard now. Never thought I was building anywhere that would get a dang box shoved in it. It is a very good spot, though. There's a reason why I keep building here. Just a damn good spot. Oh, I bet that's full. Oh, Lord. But this is plumb full of beef jerky. And lies. Mostly lies. Yeah, so the speed at which I make beef jerky in this game, if you don't mess with your fuel stats, is shocking. Also, everyone's saying, well, I can't say, but as usual, everyone's saying that Red Dead's gonna suck. And there's part of me that says they might be right this time. Mainly just because I still feel like Rockstar is too obsessed with this dang model. I don't know. We'll find out. It sucks, there's not many cowboy games out there, and since Red Dead knocked it out of the park, everyone's scared to go into it. What the hell is going on there? Something. Guess we can go put this crap up. Try to have and not need, or need not have, something like that. Oh yeah, did I ever cover? Well, apparently I did most of it. Oh god, now I'm watching people overinterpret Breaking Bad now. That's gotta be a new one. Vince Gilliam was trying to make you hate Skylar. She's actually a good person. Uh-huh. Walt and what's-his-face are just toxic masculinity. Yeah. I'm not saying Vince Gilliam isn't a lefty. I wouldn't know. So if he wrote a show as wild as The X-Files, I don't know. It tells me the guy's more into Alex Jones than he is anything else, because I mean, or Coast to Coast AM. Old school Alex Jones, not the political one. But like the original conspiracy theory Prison Planet guy. Anyways, though. But just say it's all true for a moment. They were going as far to say that Jesse's Jesus, and well, I kind of see some of that in that show. Not really. I feel sometimes people are too obsessed with trying to find the quote right answer. It's just like I'm watching this other guy, and he does like this great historical analysis of things. But then he really starts thinking that there's such things as dog whistles. And that the alt-right's all really a bunch of Nazis who are just too afraid to say it. All while his own videos are coming off with the defenses of communism. And I do think in that regard it's funny that we end the war to wind up with both sides returning. And why? Do we not have new factions? The only thing I saw that was interesting in that guy's video on that stuff was that, I don't know, but he's throwing a hissy fit about Jordan Peterson, saying that you know, he's an intentional neo-Nazi or something because he claimed that Hitler was intentionally trying to destroy his own plans. Now, normally I would tend to agree, but again, Peterson's not. Yeah, he's become political. I don't necessarily know if that was his own doing initially. This is what happens, I guess, when you dare to have a thought different from everybody else in academia. There's that uniform now. It scares people that much. He thought differently. Differently is bad. But the big thing was that he was talking about... Holy shit, they are right outside the door. Wow. They're gonna leave me alone, aren't they? I think they will. I hope they will. It looks like to let me be. Let's say there's some ancient enemies right there. So I'm surprised that the draft never had anyone bigger than Allosaur. I'm sure there is, but as it stood since I was a kid, since at least the 50s too, Allie and Brontosaur are considered like ancient rivals, like the way T-Rex and Triceratops are always portrayed. Although Allosaur and Stag are always shown like the more classic fight, but for the longest kitties, it was believed that sauropods really didn't make it to the Cretaceous, with few exceptions like Alamosaurs. So, for the longest, it was just assumed that they were just this novelty of the Jurassic. And lo and surprise, you know, it turns out that they made it. And they just got bigger, and so did Allosaur. In fact, it gets downright confusing of... I guess when you're really... It's kind of like a lion and a tiger stuff. I know I'm getting off on such a tangent here. We'll get back to the other point in a minute. But yes, if you ever... they actually had a show with that Richard Dawkins twerp in it. And they stripped a lion and a tiger down to just their muscles. And it was shocking how you cannot tell the difference between the two. And it was pretty much the whole premise of the show. While Richard Dawkins actually proved he could talk about something other than the lack of existence of a god. It's like, oh, he did get a degree in biology. I thought he was just obsessed with his hatred of Christians. Well, that was a good idea. Also, who knocked down that tree? I don't know, I didn't... Damn it. Please be a low-level Rex. Maybe I can call this good and see if we can escape now. Maybe. mood fighting right outside of our own gates. I highly doubt he'll cross the water. Never say never, right? But there's a lot more work than we're worth. I assure you, you asshole Tyrannosaurid, I'm not worth your time. Tangents. So, anyways, watching this guy, and it was another one of those true communism's never been tried videos, and you're just, oh god. Well, definition. I get tired of people arguing the semantics of definitions when it's kind of like the concept of feminism versus what actually occurs, or I don't know what feminists think male-female dating looks like, even when they themselves never participate in anything like that. Well, if I string you along, you should never ever stalk me, even if I continue to string you along. Well, don't be shocked if someone stalks you. That's victim blaming. No, that's... Stop toying with people's emotions, idiot. Especially the side that rarely deals with them. Like, why is that considered acceptable? I don't know. Like, oh, I can make the big strong guys cry. I guess they can make you die. So you're a little narcissistic game just because this big scary one of, oh, why did I go kick the monster in the groin? That's strange, huh? Anyway, so yeah, this guy's giving this big, long speech and everything, and it's strange because at one point he's over there defending Columbus quite well. I was impressed because when I grew up, Columbus had not reached the point of hatred that he shares now, and it was really an interesting video because they don't really go into Christopher Columbus's life, and I don't think you'd get an honest interpretation now since it's trendy to hate him. But a lot of what you find out about the guy is damn interesting, where you're like, he was actually trying to help. You know, he wasn't just some bad guy that they make him out to be. But no one, and even the bad guys of history in their own minds are not the bad guys. A lot about what makes you a bad guy is intolerance to the other bad guys, or what you perceive as the bad guys. That's the honest to God truth. So again, they're going with that Hitler did a lot of erratic things at the end, and that's because he's either A, stupid, or B, whatever. And again, it's because they think there's some sort of whatever about Jews, and that to myself gets paranoid because I'm like, well, it just seems like if that's the one race that if you ever say anything negative about them, then you are automatically a Nazi. And it's like, wait, but I mean, you can still even crack a full-on racist black joke as long as you're a black guy, or as long as you're a Jewish guy in Hollywood. Well, they walk around with impunity for that, and no one says a word to you. So, I don't know. I find that all of that, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons to really detach from society anymore. I strongly question that democracy is the answer. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. So at the end, this guy claims that we just came up with the concept that the Russians weren't communists, they were fascists. Hitler's a fascist too. Oh, and of course, nationalism's evil. Again, ignoring that, you know, like, while he's sitting here showing like a video from 1944 that FDR was basically saying there was going to be a new Bill of Rights, and that included, like, you know, super socialized everything. And there's, again, parts of me that say, you know, I'm not against that. And I'm not against the way Europe kind of did things. It works all the way up until you start shoving in boatloads of foreigners. Then it stops working because, well, what's the real reason you're shoving in boatloads of foreigners? Because your own population's not reproducing anymore at a fast enough rate. Oh, and you don't want to pay for certain careers. So you get into these weird meta arguments about things, and I would never call it a defense of slavery, ever, because it's not. But I'm enough of a cynic because of the job I work to say, if you ever think that slavery's dead, or if you ever think it can't come back, or if you think that it's gone, you are a fool. Because it never went anywhere. Or, you know, maybe you think that there really are politicians out there who really just care about all the Hindus of the world or the Mexicans coming in purely just for the votes that get out of it. And not reaping any of the rewards of underpaying the living shit out of people. I mean, do you really think that universities only just want to bring Hindu and Chinese kids in to the sciences, the medical programs of the world because they're all better at math? Or do you think it has a lot to do with the fact that, guess what, they ask for less as doctors and scientists? It's just one of those funny little things. Which is probably the more salient issue. And the part I find funny about all of it when somebody's sitting there Of course, then they were also going on to inform everyone in the same videos that Texas can't secede. There's no way. Again, not understanding how rebellion works, I guess. Oh, guys, hey, we can't do that. It's illegal. Well, our nation, it all depends on the realities of what, you know. I mean, that's not how a nation really works to begin with. The same guy, too, while he's sitting there explaining the whole white guilt and Christopher Columbus thing, and really just giving a really interesting just backstory of Columbus's life. By the way, I didn't realize that he didn't live much longer after he discovered the New World. I think he was dead by 1505. So you didn't even make it. So you made it not even 2 decades afterwards. That's really shocking. I need... Oops. We're a lot further along than 180 days. Let's see. Anyways, though. Let me think about this for a little bit. I need to go... What do we need to go get there, fellas? Also, why did the best part of this event, the bones thing, disappear? I mean, I gotta admit, when you come into this game at the wrong point, they will give you tons of rank. If you didn't want it. If you want to take a slow burn, I think you should turn off the events in this game. Not just get ready to get shoved up to the top, even if you're trying not to. Let's see where we're at in relation to the industrial cooker. Which for some god-awful reason is way high up now. God. Until I get out of that shitty-ass night vision. Anyways, though, I don't know. There's some parts, as I'm watching this guy explain the life story of Columbus, and that one really shocked me. Of course, then I turned and started watching other videos, and I began to immediately regret. I should have figured. Like, he really goes, I don't know, maybe he's Portuguese descent, but he must be almost, I think, a direct descendant of the guy that unhinged that much about it. And I'll give him to his credit, he really proves that Columbus is not some super villain of history. Not that I really ever believed he was. I'm kind of a realist about things. But, yeah, so, one minute he's sitting around proving this or that, and the next he starts, I don't know, backpedaling to the weirdest guy on the internet I've ever seen. Almost doubling down on his weirdness. Like, thinking that Jordan Peterson's a Nazi because he dares think that Hitler's crazy. It's like, well, he's talking about, well, Hitler's obsessed with neatness. And so if he hates disgusting things, somehow that eventually works out to his hatred of the Jews. And I'm sitting there myself going, he's a psychologist. And after my own dealings with psychology recently, I can understand why a psychologist always views everyone from that standpoint. They can't not. Then he starts going on to, like, Young and all this, which, again, it's like, this guy's just flipping the fuck out because he just didn't say, you know, like, Hitler's a bloodthirsty monster. who just hates Jews, and I don't know, strange guy. One minute he's defending Columbus, the next he's going off about the evils of nationalism, which again we call patriotism until recently. Because it was somewhere in like the 90s when they really started pushing, over here at least, that being patriotic was a bad thing. That's what the Nazis were. You know, they were nationalistic. So were we. Nah, actually, pretty much everyone involved in the war was. Like, who goes to war with the, we're okay. You kind of, it becomes an us, any us-them scenario, you're going to start talking about how great you are. Hell, some of it's just basic fight mechanics, you know? Pointless grandstanding. Well, it's not even pointless grandstanding. It's trying to intimidate the other enemy. It's just what it is. Well, that only happens in the Depression, and then you start blaming the foreigner out of nowhere. Well, it's not really, honestly, out of nowhere. Also, as I'm watching the same character, he then goes on to believe that people in the South actually seriously refer to the Civil War as the War of Northern Aggression, which has always been a joke. Like, literally, it's been a joke. It's funny, but I've never known anyone who seriously referred to it as that without, like, you know, tongue firmly in cheek. Because usually they hear it and go, what did she say? Oh, the War of Northern Aggression. Oh my God, that's so funny. I'm going to go with that, you know? Like, for a guy, you just have to see it. For somebody who can sit there and go through every historical account of Christopher Columbus and defending to the letter, you're like, wow. Huh. You know, good for you. You could say that about all the founders. You can say that about anybody, honestly. The New World's history has been pretty wild, one way or the other, and you can't really find many classic good guys or classic bad guys in it. I'm so paranoid of flying right now because of the damn fog and it being night and that Tyrannosaur being right outside. I should just kill him, but I should claim him. Why am I even looking there? Anyways, though. He goes and nails all that. And then you start watching his other videos and you're like, okay, the dude's still got his own issues. Including one where he actually sits there and then tries to declare that the problem with the news networks began in the 80s and 90s with cable, like mainly the 90s though, because you know that's when it really started. I'm like, the accusations about the news being liberal centric and left leaning, I guess the same term, but being mostly controlled by the left has been true, or at least I've heard it since I was a child. It's one of those things like Rush Limbaugh used to talk about was don't trust the polls, don't listen to them, blah, 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 blah. It's just in a lot of those things he turned out to be right. You know, like when I was a kid growing up, I watched Dan Rather. And then one day you find out that he's not some impartial boring news guy. No, he's a very involved political activist who is definitely on the left. And I almost think it's funny too, where the same guy sitting there defending stuff like The Daily Show and oh god, whatever Stephen Colbert shit's called, and the other two dorky British guys that for some reason feel like they need to come tell you about your own country. John Oliver and the new Daily Show snore. But I'm sitting there watching that thinking again, it's like, oh, it's the right who called him satire. Like, no, it's not. No, the right fully accepts the full threat of The Daily Show. It's the left and The Daily Show itself who will run into the I'm just satire whenever they start being accused of, you know, being the actual news now on the left. Like, look, you know, no one watches your legacy networks and no one trusts CNN. But the more I look at things now, it is very obvious that the left is a bunch of commies. They don't want to be known as commies, but they are commies. And there are things where I could look at the right and you say, I can see why they think that they're Nazis. Kind of, like, minus all the Nazi part of it. But the racial superiority thing, yes. The actual National Socialist, nope. There's still something very American about all of that. And I will also say that I will agree with him on one thing. The economics needs to get out of this 1800s view. What all sides really ignore is that capitalism seems to be a winner-take-all thing. It's not very good in the long run. Capitalism is a game, but unfortunately there's always a winner of the game. Once somebody wins the game, then the whole system's broke. Then you get to monopolies, which is where it fails. So you have government regulation, of course, but again, those fail. And then you have the other side of that, where communism clearly fails. And I know they say that it's never truly been tried. Well, neither has true capitalism. But almost every variant of both of them have been tried, and they don't work. And socialism only seems to work when you have a small, wealthy, homogenous culture. Which they may not like to hear that one, but that is the truth. Just look at Europe. It works in the 90s. It doesn't work once they start shoving in all the immigrants. And it's kind of the old joke. You'll see it here too. I can almost predict it now. You can't do the welfare state much longer. The funniest part to me about both sides is that both will defend their super rich. Did they change the land again over there? What's going up with that? Or is the draw distance just that much better that I can finally see it? I don't know what's going on with that. I don't know if I like it. Anyways, though, the guy basically tells the story like Rush Limbaugh about the news. Goes on to make all these wild claims that, you know, it was cable's fault why they all became a bunch of lefties or whatever, and it's not really true. Well, it's basically he was trying to argue that the legacy networks were always trustworthy, and that ain't true. Like, did somebody forget about Dan Rather forging all those documents about Bush's involvement in the war or his draft dodging? Oh, there's been other examples, but that was the big one in recent history that I remember. Oh, the Trayvon Martin thing. Oh my God, that one was bad. NBC taking snippets of Zimmerman's call into 911 to make him out to be a racist when he wasn't. Oh God. Yeah, that's why people don't trust him anymore. Like, this is, again, the dark, weird stuff of the Civil War. It never really ended. The rest of the country wants to keep the South the villains forever. Even when they're not. Even when the guy from the South isn't traditional white. Like, the left's all on board with Hispanics with the whole, yeah, you're a different race thing. Which is weird and dark on many levels. And I don't know. Sometimes I think that the Hispanic view on race is a very healthy view. Sometimes I think it's weird. Like in the sense of, it's a healthier admittance of what they really are compared to the rest of the Western world. And, hey, we're not really white anymore. We're not really the natives. My only issue with them is that they don't really acknowledge either. They just act like they just were, always. But there's the other weird side of it that liberals seem to almost live by that one drop rule. Still. Like, they are really concerned about making sure everyone's defined in their identities. And I'm not saying that there's not some point to that. Or that there's not some basis for it. People don't like hearing that, but at the same time, they also live by it. Oh, you can't judge people that way, except we totally do. Especially the left. It's not like a condemnation of them. It's just yeah. You're gay. You got to be on our side. The only people that exist on the right are white. White males, by the way. All the women, they're on our side too. It's a very strange game that they play. Oh, and of course, the subversive part of all of their politics is, in reality, too, that the good white people are on our side as well. And the gays and every minority, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. Like, but when they actually divide an issue out or something, then they get, like, this brutal divisiveness of the realities of being a big tent party. Oh, well, it turns out that if we, were to allow gay marriage to come up to the ballot in a giant blue state like California, they'll vote it down hard. Which is almost the dangers of that party. They're like I would say, to me, modern day Dems, the politicians at least, are like EA. You're not going to get what you want out of them, even though they make it sound like they will. You're not. You never will. They'll sit there and act like they give a real big crap about you, no matter what race or ethnicity or religious or lack thereof or sexuality you have. But you're not going to get what you want out of them. But they will get it out of you. And the old school right, I think, just acquiesced and joined forces with them to play the game. This is why people got all conspiratorial, because the right seemed obsessed with losing, or just playing along with them. Like, why do you keep picking a politician no one will vote for? Let's find the most liberal guy we got in our party and put him up. What? Our own constituency won't vote for him? Because people on the right are voting for their ideologies, not just merely their race. People on the left are voting pretty much over a single issue. Well, at least all the minorities in there. I don't know what the whites... I don't know what the white males over there are voting for. Other than just so they can go around and say, I'm one of the good ones. But... yeah, because everyone else you can lump into one of their ideologues or whatever. Women are here because we're feminists. Real feminists, not those fake feminists. Blacks are here because we love black people. Never mind that all of our states that actually house them are giant shitholes. And we incarcerate more of them in our states than anyone else. That's because they need to know their play. I mean, they have a rich and vibrant culture. And we're not up for building the wall. We want to come in and rip you fuckers off. I mean, we love Mexicans as long as they stay down there with the blacks. I mean, that's the funniest part of all of it to me with all of these guys. Is they will sit there and they can't even talk about history or any event in it without plenty of grandstanding, which just gets so old to me. Like, you can't talk about the American Civil War or like the rape of Nanking without, oh, it's so disgusting, they raped the hell out of it. Like, look, I wasn't there, I don't know anyone from there, right? I can just say that there was a shitload of rapes, right? That's bad, yes, but I don't need to sit around and then tell you that, by the way, I'm not down with rape. Like, grow up. Like, who is? In fact, you know, honestly, who really is? Like, I get tired of those arguments. If you don't spend at least 5 minutes of your video before you talk about civil rights, about how much you hate slavery, then you must, of course, be pro-slavery. Like, what? Like, you don't have to sit around and talk about a movie where a killing occurs and explain to everyone that you're against murder. We all understand that almost everybody on the planet, outside of like monsters, serial killers and such, or child molestation even, is against those things. But yet we then have to sit around, well, you know, it's because some people don't buy directly into our line of thinking. So therefore, of course, they must be, you know, they must all be racist who were pro-slavery. You're the ones arguing to let a group of people into the country so your powers that be can underpay them. We're just letting them have a shot at the dream. Yes, but look at what actually occurs with them. Not what you think occurs or what you hope is occurring. Look at what actually occurs. Or while they grandstand about race or something. Well, I'm against racism. Unless, of course, it's a minority talking about racism. Then I'm for it. It's acceptable then, because they can't do nothing about it. Except for when they do, or when they start doing it. And you realize that it's... How did Michael Jackson put it? It's human nature. That's dark on so many levels coming from that guy, isn't it? I feel like he's one that's going to get a lot of... Well, he's already starting to get it to that point of... Look at how great his music was compared... You know, it's... Oh, God. It's so dark on so many levels. Jacko to me is like Hitler, where you're like... You look at the guy, you see what creates him, if you're really honest about him. You feel sorry for him to an extent. Hitler's almost as equally as... Like, Hitler, Jacko, Stalin, Saddam, they all have certain things in common. In fact, all the big world leaders in life pretty much have a few things in common. Well, the ones that become something. I mean, I was right about that. This used to be a debate I'd have with my mother. Because I'd heard the story of Lincoln's childhood, and it didn't sound like the happiest of places. Oh, and, well, I will admit that same guy I was watching gave a fantastic argument against, conspiracy theories that I somewhat agree with. That, you know, it's just people can't accept that the world's random, or that it's happier to believe that there's this big vast governmental conspiracy against everybody versus a bunch of idiots getting their shit together and knocking some planes down, or knocking some buildings down with some planes. At the same time as I watch it, I'm also sitting there going, like, the human mind is going to find patterns, and if there are patterns in certain events, it's suspicious, and it does seem like there's an outside actor. It's just that sometimes I think it's just a supernatural outside actor, or whatever, aliens, whatever you want to refer to it as. Lincoln's a great example, though. He gets all of the good of what he was doing. He takes none of the bad, even some of the things he said during the war, which would normally condemn any other forefather. Mainly because Lincoln died before he got to actually see down what he was going to do. But from his own words of what he said he was going to do if he won, or when he won, it was obvious that it wasn't going to be what people thought it was going to be. Like, the man made it pretty clear he thought he was going to kick all the blacks back to Africa. That's wildly interesting to me. Like, it's that stuff when you learn it about Lincoln, you start going, it's strange. And it is true, like the way they defined the Civil War. And I hate to say it too, but I think World War II is going to have the same image crisis soon. Mainly because, well, people like Spielberg have done a good job of making it seem like we fought for all these great ideas or something. We're going to go over there and free all the Jews. Hey there, Jimmy.
What's that, sir?
We're gonna go over there and free all the Jews. Okay. Like, the problem is that war, you know, again, was very well documented, so none of those old-timey World War II things are talking about any of that. It's just, Hitler sucks. We don't like him. Let's go kick his ass. Nazism ain't cool. And then, you know, and a few years afterwards, we don't like the commies either. And I don't necessarily mind the us-them mentality in life. You know, we're here, they're there. They want their power. Ultimately, that doesn't serve our interest. It really doesn't bother me. Well, it doesn't benefit me, you doing that, so that's why we're against you. But people like to always think that we're going to fight for some high and mighty idea. We're all just saints. We surely would never send a bunch of our sons and sons off to war, just to go die for, you know, economic interest or something like that, or political power, which again goes back to economic interest. Oop. So that's what we do. But is that really necessarily a negative, or is that what all wars are really fought over? And my bigger thing with Hitler and Lincoln and all them, and saying like people like Michael Jackson, they all have certain things in common, is they all have bad childhoods in common. I don't think you can point out one world leader who mattered, not just well, hell, even somebody like a Prince Charles. They all have bad childhoods. You know, it seemed like for the really powerful men, you got a borderline mom, borderline personality disordered mother. You want to make a Napoleon or a Washington or a Hitler or a Stalin, be a bitch when you're raising your son. Be a massive bitch to him, but do so in such a way that you don't totally lose him. So just enough that there's this underlying hatred of you that he'll never be able to truly get over it. And that he's always trying to get your approval. And you'll create a very powerful world leader, because that's the man that stops at nothing to win. Or a drug addict, one of the two. And he'll just try to escape you through some other means. And on the other side of that, you can be a massive, abusive, jackass father, so that they have the failed father figure and have to do it within themselves. Like, that seems to be the trick, is that you need to have a combination of one of the two. Actually, both. So you need a good parent on one side and a bad parent on the other. You need a borderline scenario, almost every time. So you need the codependent and you need the dependent, or the NPD or the BPD. That will create a world leader, or can. That's how you get these selfless Jesus-like people. It's how you do it. I speak from experience. That's how you get the guy that'll run up that damn hill knowing that this seems like a terrible idea. But the only way to possibly get this person's love and attention is to do this. Well, that's why I'm going to go running up that hill. That's also how you create the narcissistic monster that they eventually become, because guess what made them a narcissistic monster? And they all have it in common. Washington, Lincoln, Stalin. It wasn't just Stefan Molyneux who noticed that, or Peterson. Hitler's dad's an abusive drunk. Hey, guess what Stalin's dad was? Hitler had a saintly mother who died when he was 10. Guess what Stalin had? Actually, I don't know much about Stalin's mom. I don't know much about Churchill or FDR's backgrounds, other than both came from money, and one was royalty. Or a kind of royalty. I know Lincoln's, same thing. Dad dies early, saintly mother, but kind of a bitch. Washington, definitely a bitch mother. Who was never on good terms with him once he was an adult. Michael Jackson, abusive father, codependent mom. You see it over and over again. Get yourself a narcissist who can survive in public. Usually that's a borderline or an NPD who's not a murderous psychopath. Let them have kids. Because they don't really love their kids and they're always in a rivalry with their kids. This is how you create all the powerful people of the world. I don't fully understand that. I mean, I do. I actually do, but I just don't understand how that's so strange and dark and weird. Like, you become powerful because your parent doesn't love you, basically. And you're trying to, like, win their approval, and you think that every crazy new mountain that you climb over creates a better... Maybe this will be the thing, until one day you're just someone like me, you just throw your hands up and go, you can't win, fuck them. But those tendencies will already be in you, and that's how you create a Hitler. That's how you create a Lincoln, Stalin, whoever. And that's why I sometimes, myself, question if democracy is the way to go, because we're electing people who are raised by psychopaths. Like, I kind of had felt something about that when you're reading all these quotes from guys who were former presidents talking about how much it sucks to be president. That's not a glorious job, and that most people who are president don't enjoy it in any way. But I think it's fair to say that in the Western world, becoming the American president is like the culmination of your life, almost. There's another Rex up there? Did that bastard just circle around? He did. Whoa. Hello. There is another Rex here. Oh, you never see him there. I feel like that bastard's trying to find a way to get in the base. I don't know how well he'll succeed at it. He looped around though. Well, he'll get screwed up pretty damn bad if he comes in, if he manages to come in. But that's my point with Peterson, and I'm not trying to get overly defensive of him. There's some parts where I do disagree with Peterson. There's a lot of really good points, I think, about Jordan Peterson. Hell, I don't believe in flat Earth, but I think there's some good points about them, too. a good looking Rex too. Are they able to hit him now? You know, I think if they did just one random white Rex, it would have been cool, but to constantly shove them in this game is... I'm not a fan. We got one alley. Anyways. Alright. But the big thing about, like I was saying, was just that an alternative way of thinking or examining something, looking at a new prism. Like, the big thing I caught about Peterson's talk about Hitler was that they are very dishonest about him now. Not in any sense of, am I trying to defend this man? But to just act like the man was just born pure, wretched evil. He just woke up in the morning like he was literally the Antichrist. Just over the top. And that's how you end up creating another one, because he refused to accept that he formed out of the situation that he was put into, and it makes sense when you listen to him talk, and some of that is some of it is there's a lot of commies in the media now. Well, there always was, but there's definitely a lot of them now, and they don't like listening to a guy who says he doesn't like them. But again, as a person who's not a communist or a socialist, I still am confused as hell about them. I'm all for socialism. It's better than that crap Stalin's doing. Like, I will agree that I think what the Russians did and Hitler is so confusing. You're like, I can't tell the difference between you. This shit. Oh, yeah. Now, this is my own weird debate about Peterson, though. I don't disagree with him on things, because when I went through my own little issues with the mentally disabled of the world and began to see it in my own life, I began to really put it all together. And it's why you'll get, like, whatever that twerp is that was has that now famous YouTube where he's sitting there 1 minute with a Lamborghini or whatever it is parked in there with his library books or whatever. Oh yes, I like to remind myself that knowledge. Like, here, kids, you know what he really is? This is one you gotta love: narcissists. Narcissists and borderlines can always spot what people really are. They can tell you what their motivations. They can at least see it in each other. They'll tell you the truth about a person. The real truth. Your real motivations. He's an insanely narcissistic person is what he really is. And he wants to make sure that you think he's smart and thoughtful. And he also wants you to know that he's successful. That's what he really just did. Never mind how he actually got there. Probably wasn't even that amazing. And it has a lot more to do with luck. There's some truth to that, too. I think that's the part that the race baiters don't like to hear either. Hell, it's my own theory about at some point, if you're really honest about Western civilization and why it was more successful than the others, it has to be invention. But so what leads to invention? And was it democracy? Was it the individualism that the West puts out more than the East? I don't know. And then, of course, it's the genesis of where ideas really come from. Like, if you're honest, if you're an artist or a scientist or somebody else in those, engineer or mathematician, something along those lines, inventor of any sort, did you really come up with your idea? I mean, yes, you did, but where did that idea come from? Really, if you're truly honest about it, did you really come up with it? Or did it just pop into your head? Like, there wasn't a logical A to B to C, you know, and then I invented, say, I don't know, the telephone. Actually, with those inventions, yeah, that's a bad example, because there's an A to B to C. Actually, I don't even know if that's true. I take that back. So I'm going, well, it all begins with electricity with them, and then the rest kind of gets easy. But that's the reason why you'll see such stagnation. That would be the only explanation, right? So if Chinese and Hindu kids are smarter than everybody else, and that's why they're being shoved up at the university level, and they're going to the best colleges in the West, where's all of our wonder inventions at? Because again, ideas are just coming out of thin air. Like, once you have the core one, you know, you've got it. And you can invent to your A to B to C. Like, we got the phone, so the iPhone's inevitable at that point. You got to get there by getting your microchip smaller. I need gasoline. But the actual genesis of thought, good luck, kids. Because trust me, it's just like being a writer. If you've ever wrote, if you've ever had to think of anything as somebody who's used to be a paid writer, or you've tried to invent anything or do a serious scientific study that wasn't boring shit no one cares about, and that is, as somebody who's also a scientist, that is a lot of the appeal of the foreign kids, is that they'll do the boring research no one gives two craps about. Well, somebody's going to go do this. And the idea behind that being that if we have enough boring studies, eventually you'll be able to work up to the next part of the project. Although that seems to not be working out as true at all. Which goes back to the spark of creativity, and where does that come from? And for some reason the West has had way more of that than everybody else. Like, the Chinese come up with gunpowder, or black powder. Someone in the West immediately sees it and goes, what if we had a metal tube and we were to put a big, heavy, round ball in front of that powder? Who thinks of a controlled explosion to lead to a firearm, you know? Because those guys are brilliant. Are they? Ask a writer, ask an artist. You know, they're a hell of a lot more honest about who they are. Okay, not really. Writers are. Kind of. No, you know what? I take it back. Everyone's full of shit. The spark of creativity and where it comes from, God save you and good luck. What ends writer's block? Who knows? What gives you it back? Who knows? It's the same thing with invention and creation. It's just coming out of thin air. If you could control it, you'd be a very, very wealthy person, right? The big trick is to get the big invention, get a copyright on it, and then spawn tons of little inventions like Bell or Tesla. I really don't like him being right outside our door like that. I'm not down with that. To tame him or kill him, one of the two. But he already killed Allosaurs? I thought they were killing a... Same with somebody like Michael Jackson again, or Beethoven, or whoever. You know, for some reason they just get more of the spark of creativity, and if we could figure out what creates that, you know, you'd be onto something. But you can't. Or we haven't been able to figure it out. Through all of mankind's existence, we haven't been able to. Like, what gives you the ability to be a Michelangelo? What gives you the ability to be a Stephen King? And deep down, they don't know either. That's the truth about life. It's the truth about invention. It's the truth about scientific theory. It is just out of freaking thin air. But the West has had more of it. I mean, the arrogant among them will say, oh yeah, I was just sitting there, and, you know, I thought this, that, and sometimes there's some truth to that, but for the most part, no. And that's why things stagnate. There you go, little Jimmy. I mean, strangely enough, what actually appeals to the powers that be, that whatever, I believe that they exist. Others do not. And I think the other thing I'm getting tired of is people who view themselves, unless you're absolutely goddamn insane and you know it, view yourself instead as the not an irrational actor or different from everyone else, but assume everyone would make the same decisions as you. Oh, I bet this island's gonna have one of those thingies now. I love this island so much because no one screws with you here. That's why I never mess with it. nice, peaceful islands. No, I can't say it enough. You are picking the absolute worst time to, Where the hell's the rest of his pack yet? That is a really brightly colored iguanodon. Come live in my place for a little while, buddy. Seriously. Iguanodon's like a 4-ton animal. I'm pretty sure this overgrown bird could not pick him up. The hell's the music playing for? Got a iguanodon walking around? Not that big a deal. Cool your jets, buddy. You're not being attacked by Tyrannosaur anymore. Relax, re-heal. Then be prepared to be knocked unconscious. Oh, is he still Microraptor? That's why I had all those damn Microraptor eggs. Yeah, so when I first played this game, it was March last year, and it was right before we got Iguanodon. I was super impressed they were going to put him in the game. What I thought. I need a gun. So I'm gonna go nuts trying to cook things. I just realized that. Let's get some lemons, buddy. When in doubt, lemon out. But seriously, back to my original point of the spark of creativity. Good luck. But that's really why things happen. I have to do this in such a way that doesn't get him fucked up by anybody. Which means Quetzal. Have I lost the advantage of Quetzal? Oh, you know what? I'm gonna shoot him from my massive boat. Thank you, come again. Oh God. Come on. what's back there. He's just a happy sound to hear right outside your gate. You know what, whatever. Now, I don't know why Iguanodon becomes a seed man, and it's really not that handy. The one thing that you need more seeds of, like Plant X and stuff, he doesn't naturally eat. There's no way to. I mean, you can harvest them, but you can't just come feeding him like a Plant X fruit, and he just shits out a ton of seeds. He already gives you seeds of things that you don't really have an issue getting. If seeds were rare in the game, this would be an insanely handy guy to have. What time we get one on? I wonder how high you could build. You know, if I could set the game, it'd probably be a huge mistake. Could you imagine if Ark was done real time? That's one thing I kind of liked about Battlefield Hardline was all the clocks in the game were set to your real time. So if you're in the middle of a gunfight and you're like, how long have I been playing this game for? What time is it? You just look at the clock on the wall in that game. Like, oh, it's 4. Oh, okay, cool. Or, oh god, it's 4 a.m. I have a problem. He's taming quick. He eats a lot. Oh yeah, obsessed about these damn assholes, so was brutally let down by them. Like, I thought it was cool that they had the bipedal, quadrupedal thing going. Actually, I don't know if they ever proved that they were a quadruped, because I think the only tracks they found were bipedal. Like, I know that is the common belief with all the duckbills nowadays. And I'm not against it. Their arms are long enough. It works. It's just... They also have a ton of tracks of these guys, and I think they're all bipedal tracks. I was trying to walk away, thank you. Well, you can tell what color everyone wanted more of. Pretty obvious from the Valentine's Day event. I don't know why it took them so long to do... Well, it's probably because they got tired of all the damn hackers in the game, but... I think these subtler, more natural, blending in colors are even better because it makes so much more sense and it works so much better. Like a white T-Rex is cool the first time you see one. When you realize that they're not really much of a novelty in the game, it's not that neat. Where is the other iguanodon? Oh yeah, they were both dudes. There's one of the Blando original colors. Oh, he's automatically in a group. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I forgot I put them in as groups. It was a good bad all at once. Bad that I didn't inform anyone else in the tribe. I can't see, game. Put that up. I still hate what they did to Pteranodon. They made him look stupid. Could they at least go fix that? He needs some TLC. Making him look like the actual animal. Or at least what we've all accepted that he should look like. Oops. Oh yeah, look, they all got a little natural muscle jiggle. That's neat. Yeah. Are their eyes green? His eyes are very dull. I don't know why their iguanodon looks so thin and strange in this. Also, I know I talked about it before, but I find it so strange that well, what do we need to make more of next? I guess we could go scout for some alphas to kill or something. So many Dimorphodons died against that thing, it's not even funny. Oh, yeah, what did I make in the old guns category here? Got some machine guns, some pistols. I'm actually reading somebody saying that they think the shotgun's a waste of time. Play more PvE, sir. I realize that the scope magically adds range. Who would be good to go scouting with? I know who, ironically, but I'm gonna need a gun. It's a regular gun. I think we'll need more than this. I know it doesn't seem like the traditional choice to go hunting with, but there's a method to this. What the hell are they fighting? Another jackass Rex. I can't even tell who they're fighting. I feel like Ark's plotline is beginning to get in the way of Ark. It was a game that never needed one. Oh my god, that Rex looks so cool! I might have to slay everything in his way just to get him. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I forgot. You can just paint the damn assholes now. So we don't have to go tame a red T-Rex. Oh well. Red Megatherium. That stag looks cool. Looks like a toy I used to have. See, that's the kind of silly hysteria that I can't stand about the left. They'll sit there and they'll talk about something like a belief in man and dinosaurs coexisting together, and just the somehow insane danger that exists in that belief. Like, maybe people want to believe it because it's fun. But the more salient point of all of that is the people who truly believe that don't live in the West. They probably live in the Middle East. Good deal of them. Get friends from there and you'll realize this is true. Or, you know what, lefties, you'll be friends with a real Christian. You'll realize that they're not sitting around going, gee, why doesn't the Bible talk about all these tyrannosaurs and stuff? Like, I know the classical scientific arguments back in the 1800s about, whoa, that is the first time I've ever seen him attack something on his own. That's cool. That is neat. Even cooler to see him rescale a tree again. That thing's cool looking too. Anyways, so all that being said, still, it's not that big a damn deal. It doesn't really matter one way or the other. The age of the Earth and your belief in its age, it's not going to affect that much. Like the intellectual dishonesty of pretending that somebody's sitting around believing that the Earth's 5,000 years old or 4.4 billion. You know, does that really matter? No. Does it really matter if someone thinks the Earth's flat? Nope. Well, it's what keeps kids out of the sciences. Okay, enlightened lefties, how come you aren't all in the sciences then? Like, because you don't want to admit what the real issue is, because again, you're always obfuscating the point. Which I don't think your average left liberal means to do, but I do think that their upper tier definitely does. Well, the real reason is because those jobs don't pay, and that's a hell of a lot of work. Again, I speak as a scientist, and unless you stay out of your field and use your brains for another field that's more appreciative of your efforts, you're not going to make money in most fields. And that's a hell of a pain in the ass degree to get. Oh, badass! He's in the water now? Where are you at, dude? Maybe we'll actually see him get inadvertently involved in a fight and fuck somebody up. Ooh, that tap looks cool too. See, those look way better than the... Oh man, that looks... Another Red Rex. You know how hard it was to find a Red Rex back in February? think they almost overdid them. You just know he's gonna do something cool, Marge. I'm gonna have to go watch that episode again. It's one of the Simpsons where at the end the Italian mob ends up fighting the Yakuza. And Homer's watching the fight go on. And he tells, Marge that he wants to continue watching the fight because there's this Asian guy or whatever in like a suit and he's not fighting anybody yet. So he's gonna do something really cool. And of course, she makes him leave, and of course, the minute he steps away, you just hear this, like, or something crazy like that, and he just goes, oh. Anyways, though, back to my point. It's my thing with some of those shows where, again, they just start getting bent out of shape or fighting the straw man if they want to fight today. Like, I don't know if it's supposed to be a subversive shot at the rest of the world. I mean, obviously, usually you just directly aim at white Christians. Because that's who they're directly referring to. What if they know anything about reality? Like, outside of Grandpa over there, even most Christians can accept the whole 4.4 thing, or just at least know, well, that's what's... I never knew any Christians who were flat earthers. Ever. I knew plenty of anti-evolutionists. But the bigger issues with evolution was always on the Christian side, was just the killing off of God in its view. Especially during the Cold War. Okay. Where the hell are all the alphas at anymore? Why those Quetzals always seem to be coming in low ranked anymore? Well, they're not exactly an easy thing to rank up natural like. He's not a great fighter. He's basically just the guy that ranks up by sitting in your base eating from a trough. So much for that free meal. There's a free meal. Quetzal being a douchebag, stealing kills. There's even weird stuff about environmentalism that I still kind of roll my eyes about. I roll my eyes about a lot of the weird hypocrisies of the world. Like, oh man, I hate Walmart. They're just the worst. I still shop there though. Well, they're just so dang convenient and cheap. Like, it's when again I'm watching this guy and he's showing this video of FDR's one of his last speeches from '44, where he's basically saying that he's gonna make almost like a universal income, and I'm not against the idea, but I do think it's probably a massively stupid idea. But I'm not necessarily against it. I just think that there's a lot of things about people like Reagan that were right. People like Reagan really saw through communism. He really, really, really hated communism. I don't know why. I don't know where his thing was, but that was that man's goal in life, was to fight communism. I don't know if it was because he was that deeply religious. I mean, he had his faith, but probably the staunchest anti-communist that ever existed on the American side. And he's no pro-Hitler guy either, in any way. Like, I think where we screwed up is that we humored the lefties so much that we've allowed them to sneak communism back into the fray, which is so crazy just because it's not worked. It didn't work in Russia. Why the hell would you think it would work here? Well, it worked in China. Did it? Is that why San Francisco's housing market's going crazy? Or is it because all the party leaders are buying up homes over here because they're wanting to flee here when shit hits the fan? As they seem to inevitably be predicting. And why is it that communism always seems to lead back to a more religious society? Like, why is there this weird Christian takeover starting to occur in China? And why did the Russians become super fundamentalist, you know? I think it's the kind of, I don't want to say the dark side, but the certain realities that religions form naturally, to try to get rid of them is probably unnatural. You're not going to convince people that this extremely nihilistic view on the world is going to work. It just doesn't. It doesn't for what mankind's psyche needs. Like, nihilism's great for comedy. It doesn't work elsewhere. You can't make much of a civilization from it. You can put it into a civilization that already exists and watch it crumble, though. Life's nothing. It's never going to be more than nothing. Great. Well, who cares? Well, it's just cold, hard reality. Is it? Well, if there was a God, why doesn't he, prove it? I don't know. If we're just a naturally evolving species off a random puddle of goo, why don't we evolve a way to be happy without, you know? Like, I can accept the defensive answer of just saying that something eventually boils down to somebody poofed it into the world or something. it's not really much of an answer. You still want to know how, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that there is a deity out there, and he's poofing things into the world, and you're trying to figure out how he does it. You know, I understand why you would. Though I think that's kind of the problem we'll keep running into ultimately, is that I don't think we're ever going to be able to really prove. We're going to have some real hell proving life. Mainly because it obeys so few rules, and the rules it does obey, the rest of the universe doesn't. Oh, we haven't been looking long enough. And then a smartass like me says, so 100 years worth of geological data is proof of, or 100 years of meteorological data roughly is proof that there's global warming, but 100 years of, well, actually longer than that now, radio transmissions and such is not proof that there's nothing out there. Or even in our own galaxy, like nothing ever fell off this planet and fell into anywhere else. It's just, hey. Oh my god, damn it, Quetzal. Oh, come on, man. I got too used to the cadence of shooters. This guy just cannot stay on target, can he? Oh, really? What? Yeah, I know. The ballistas didn't do anything. Go ahead and get this bastard home. Man, I tell you what would be cool is if you could make a plesiosaur. Oh my god. You know, I may spawn it just to see if you could do it. If you could make a submarine on a plesiosaur, or most of, I'd be in. Can you imagine? It would probably be extremely stupid. You would need the moon, or whatever they're called, moon pool things. But damn, it would be cool. That was always my hope with the whole platform on them, was that they were going to be submarines. Instead, all you end up doing is, again, putting ballista turrets on them or something. Or machine guns. I don't think you can use machine guns underwater. For the longest, it was just a ballista turret. My old Crazy X would use them. This was fun. I'd be sitting there killing something with the Nessie head, and then I'd just watch it instantly die as a giant arrow would go through its head. Good tag team, but you know, again, going back to borderline stuff, you know, you just can't help. You can't help crazy, and you can't stop it. And I wasn't even aware that it exists. That kind of insanity could exist. Hold on. Luckily, I don't have to live that life. It's better to be the victim of one than it is to be them. I'll say that. They live in a strange little world, even for me. And I don't care what you say, Pull. This thing having climate control is infinitely useful. I mean, for goodness sakes. You know what? I forgot. I don't have to wait for you to. On him like you do Bronto. There you go, kids. Let's find the BRS. Smart. You know that's cool. It looks a little psychotic, but you know, I like to have some amenities when I fly. There's a miserable experience that's, ugh. It sounded so much better when I was a kid. I actually haven't done it many times as an adult. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I hate flying. And I don't exactly fly to one of those people who actually fly somewhere that you don't want to fly. Yeah, but I've definitely flown to the places you do too. Well, I no longer see a red Rex. And I see a very bloody Triceratops. Oh, never mind. He's gonna kick everyone's ass. Until he runs into those Brontos and the Stags. And then he will probably lose. That's a weird thought I was having the other day, and I wonder if biologists have thought about it much. Of course, you'd have to be honest about your success rate. But... oh. Well, I guess we know what happened to... haughty spirit before a fall there, dickwad. Like that one's only level 28. Bothers me. You know you wish you'd thought of it. You know you wish the platform sounded work like that. You gotta have your own server, kids, if you want to do these. But it is cool. My guy's like a flying plane. That's what I wanted. It's a box. Oh, I'm sorry. They don't have better... Everyone complains about how I build in this game. I'm kind of stuck with boxes. Boxes and angles. I guess if they knew the kind of Spartan lifestyle I lived, they would understand the box more. He's okay with boxes because he just wants a place to sleep and store his shit. Pretty much. Home ownership to me is just storage of shit. Place to store food and sleep. Bathe occasionally. Rarely. I kid. Or do I? A troll prank to play on myself. Anyways. Cool. Really cool. Well, for a while, we're not going to have at all. Thank you for flying pretzel air. The finest airline service in all of... Well... Why is the music playing already? Thanks, buddy. The second finest airline to come from Texas. Although, probably the first. I gotta admit that the roar is better. Get out of my face, dickhole. Teach you to clip. The hell's attacking us now? What? You need to calm the hell down there, game. Confused. Yeah. You don't convince me there's some great war going on outside. And look, where are the numbers at? Like, if they're back here, there will be an immediate and very violent response to them. Like, most things know not to screw with us over here because of, well, the implication. I don't even know what's screwing with us. What? Well, you can have that, you little dickwad. Anyways. Thought it was a damn jackass otter or something. They occasionally come over here to die. Hmm.